So for today's video, I'm going to be talking to you guys a little bit about shoe selection for standard hiking trips. And so I've gone ahead and laid out a few different kinds of shoes here that you might see out on the trail. And we'll go through the pros and cons of each of them. So by the end of this, you should be able to formulate what shoe you think will work best for you. So we'll go ahead and start here with the likely suspect, the standard hiking boot. And so the good things with these standard hiking boots, obviously it's going to be super durable. It's nice and burly, it has a thick sole on it, good tread, and that high ankle for that extra protection. So these can be nice if you're looking for a lot of added support, if you're working on like a trail crew or you're carrying big loads at a time, you know, like 50 or 40 pound packs. These things can offer you a lot of support. However, the cons with these hiking boots, in my mind, kind of outweigh some of the benefits. So the big drawback here is going to be the weight. Obviously, this is going to be much heavier than any of these other options you see here on the table. And the break-in time for these boots is going to be substantially longer. So typically when you buy like a big leather hiking boot, or any hiking boot for that matter, it's going to take a few days out on the trail to actually break that thing in. And so you can't just go to the store, whip the side of the box, take it to the trail, and have a comfortable time. It's going to take, you know, quite a bit of time for it to actually break in and get comfortable for you, which means you're going to get blisters, some hot spots, and it's not going to be super comfortable. And this thing's going to get super hot in the summertime, or for, you know, any time of the year if you're getting warm. These things don't breathe super well. And so the breathability also affects when this thing gets wet. It takes a very long time for this to dry out. So if you're on trail or you're backpacking and your feet get wet in this shoe, it's going to take a lot more time to actually dry, and so then you bring up a whole multitude of different issues. But moving on to the trail runners, these have been becoming increasingly more popular for hiking and through hiking as well on the Appalachian Trail or the PCT. These are typically the go-to shoe for that. Some of the pros, it's going to be super lightweight compared to these boots here. They weigh, you know, not much at all. They're super comfortable. There's no break-in period, and these breathe much better. So when you get hot, it's going to dump that heat really well. Your feet won't get too sweaty, and so it also has pretty good tread as well. A lot of people think you need to go with hiking boots because of the tread and the grip, but in reality, this trail running shoe is going to be really similar to that boot. So not too much of a difference there. And finally, the last pro, if this thing gets wet, it's going to dry out a lot faster than these typical hiking boots will. So if you're, you know, multiple days in and your feet get wet, these are going to dry, you know, pretty much overnight. So it's not going to be a long process. Some of the cons with this shoe, however, it's not going to be too durable. So if you're going to be hiking a lot, you might burn through this shoe a little bit faster than you will typical hiking boots. And it's just going to be not as supportive overall as a hiking boot would be. You know, you don't have that high ankle protection and that extra support. Next, we'll talk about sandals. And so it's important with sandals that you have sandals with straps. Obviously, you don't want to be out with Crocs or flip-flops on. You ideally want like a sandal that's meant for the outdoors or for hiking. A lot of sandals now have a Vibram sole on them, so they're a lot more durable, added support as well. But some of the benefits of a sandal, obviously, is there's no break-in period. You can just slip these things on and go. They're super comfortable. You're going to get less blisters because your toes aren't going to be locked into a shoe. Obviously, breathability. Your shoe is open. It's an open-toed shoe. And the fact that if you have to do a river crossing or, you know, it's really warm out, these things are going to dry really fast. And obviously, super lightweight. This is obviously the most lightweight option out of all of these. So if you're looking to go light, these are nice. There have been a number of people who have completed the Appalachian Trail and the PCT in sandals, so it's not too crazy nowadays. But some of the obvious cons, however, if one of these straps breaks because they're not super durable, you're kind of out of luck. It's really hard to do repair on one of these in the backcountry, and there's not too much you can do to really repair it. So if you break it, it's a challenge. Another thing, if you're hiking in Pennsylvania, it seems like every trail has rocks that are just sticking up, begging you to stub your toes. And so obviously you have to be a little bit more diligent when you're hiking in sandals as not to go ahead and stub your toe on a rock or cut it open. But a good option. Next would be your standard tennis shoes. This, will work if you have nothing else. Similar to the trail runners, these are going to be nice and comfortable, no break-in period, which is nice, and they're cheap. You probably already have them, but they're obviously going to get dirty, so if this is like your primary pair, they're like nice fancy white Jordans or something, you obviously don't want to bring those out because they will get dirty. But some of the drawbacks of this shoe obviously are going to be the durability. It's not really made for hiking, so the tread is made for a road or a track. So it's not ideal, but it's certainly better than nothing. And then finally, we'll talk about a Gore-Tex shoe. These have become a little bit more popular nowadays with the advent of Gore-Tex gaining popularity. But obviously Gore-Tex is going to be waterproof and breathable, at least it says it should be. But the drawbacks with this is that these get super hot. So if your foot's in here and it's getting really sweaty, Gore-Tex is made so that it's not letting moisture through. So it's going to act almost like a greenhouse in there. So if your foot's sweaty or wet, it's really hard to dump that heat and that moisture out of this shoe. Also, Gore-Tex tends to be a little bit more expensive as well. So you're going to be spending a little bit more money for a hiking shoe with Gore-Tex that ultimately might not be as good for that 3-season use. But if you're looking for a shoe for the winter time, obviously Gore-Tex is going to be a good option so your feet won't get too wet. So when it comes time to select your shoes for a hiking trip, it's important that you try a few different options and find what works best for you. Obviously there are pros and cons to each of these, but I do think it's important to kind of deconstruct some of those myths surrounding hiking boots as the primary option for any kind of hiking you do. So I hope this video was helpful, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Thanks.